Good day, everyone. My name is 𝐊𝐚-𝐓𝐿 and I'm here with my group mates Balabat, Borres, Pahapay, and 𝗃𝗏𝐿, and we're going to be presenting our topic entitled From Print to Pixels, focusing on traditional media, digital media, and games. So, the first unit will be presented by me and Balabat, the second by Pahapay, and the last unit will be presented by Borres and 𝗃𝗏𝐿. So without further ado, let's begin. So, imagine this. It's the year 1975, and your whole family is watching the television. No one comments or responds to anything. They are just receiving the news. Now, fast forward to today. And now, you're a teenager in the 21st century. You come across a post that interests you, so you decide to comment on it. And within minutes later, people from different places all over the world decide to interact and reply to your comment. So, something changed. Traditional and digital media had the same purpose. It was to share information. But in that example, we had completely different experiences. So, that is our topic for today. My name is 𝐊𝐴 and I'm going to be reporting my topic entitled From Stones to Phones, focusing on the transition from traditional media to digital media technologies, where people can now interact with the community. So, let's define some terms first. Traditional media generally refers to well-established pre-internet forms of mass communication. So these are mediums used to broadcast messages to a wide audience. One of the most notable examples of this are, of course, the newspapers, the radio, and the television. They differ in the ways they present information, but they serve the same purpose for sharing information and even for entertainment. So at first glance, what do you guys notice about a newspaper? So yeah, it's words, it's written. So newspapers typically have a more in-depth coverage of topics since it isn't restricted by time limitations as seen on scheduled programming like the television. So basically, because of this, more details can be packed into the news articles. And since it is written, people can just engage with the content at their own pace. Next, we have the radio. So the radio is a device that uses audio to deliver messages to the public. So since it only relies on sound, it has to have a clear and concise narrative for the listeners to be able to visualize the descriptions being said on it. So in short, it is a simple and often localized language for it to be easily understood by everyone. And next, we have the television. I think we are most familiar with the television, right? So it uses both visuals and audio to present news to the public. So it may even use stylistic elements such as visual editing or music to engage with the audience. So for example, it may use fast-paced editing to indicate that a scene is exciting, or it may use emotional music to convey that a scene is tragic. So the television can take advantage of that. So I think most of us are familiar with this program, right? It's Weather lang. It's Kuya Kim. And we are also familiar with this, right? FPJ's Ang Probinsyano. So with that, we know that the traditional media can be a way to inform the public about the weather, government actions, and many more. And it can also be used as a form of entertainment like this. So unlike on Facebook or Instagram, where you guys are basically able to upload any media messages that you want, traditional media undergoes a more thorough filtering process. As Ms. Carmina Constantino said, pagkatapos masulat ang balita, dadaan pa ito sa pagsusuri ng mga editor. So basically what this means is that before news is presented to the public, it has to go through quality checks to ensure that there are no inaccuracies in the information they're about to provide. So, news production is the lengthy process of talented individuals from the news anchors to, of course, the news and section editors to ensure that a quality standard is reached. This is also the reason why people tend to perceive traditional media as a more reliable source than on social media platforms. But there is a limitation of it. Traditional media is non-interactive. So, what do I mean by that? Traditional media does not allow immediate user feedback. It is characterized by one-way communication, meaning information goes from the sender to the receiver, but allows the receiver, or the audience rather, little to no opportunities to respond or directly engage back with the audience. So to better understand this concept of one-way communication, let's take a look at an example. So, from this image, what can you think about? So, it's familiar, right? Yes, it's martial law. So, the declaration of martial law in 1972 led to the severe suppression of speech. Actually, during this time, many journalists and media outlets were shut down as criticism of the government was dangerous. And a Department of Public Information was established to prevent any news deemed contrary to government interests. So, because of this, media became strictly one way. The government delivered messages to the public, but the public had no platform to respond or even to verify the information they were constantly receiving. So, this historical example demonstrates how traditional media can limit interaction. The audience becomes passive consumers of information rather than becoming active participants in discussions. But even without this example now, if you guys think about it, you can't really use traditional media as a way to engage with the audience. You can't use a television to talk to the masses. It's just strictly one way. But now, we're in the digital age. We now have access to smartphones, laptops, computers, and many more. So now, this brings us to the transition to digital media technologies. The rise of the internet was the starting point of this, around the 90s. The internet was to be a platform where anyone can publish, provide feedback, and allow others to globally connect to each other. The rise of the internet was a transformative period which allowed the creation of new media technologies and services. In the initial stages of the internet, there were only basic websites such as email service providers and basic media messaging apps. But as technology evolved, so did the capabilities of digital media. The 2000s witnessed the emergence of social media platforms. So let's define some terms here. So what is digital media? It generally refers to digitized content that can be transmitted over the internet or computer networks. So basically examples of this are your Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, etc. It is characterized by instant communication. As long as you have a device and an internet connection, you can practically connect to anyone else in the world, provided that they also have the same tools as well. So the emergence of social media platforms enabled users to communicate more freely. Unlike traditional media where it is one-way communication, digital media is two-way communication, meaning information goes from the sender to the receiver, but allows the receiver to interact back with the community or even create their own media messages. So this interactivity of media allowed digital media to become a more participatory media. First, it enables access to diverse viewpoints. So social media allows users to delve into the opinions of others that they may or may not agree with. So this encourages open-mindedness and a better understanding of different perspectives on societal and political issues. So take a look at this. This user said, "A 95 grade is poison to be with honors for a slow learner like me." So a bit of context now. The user is basically referring to the rumors regarding the proposed new grade criteria for being with honors, which is proposed to be 95. So the user is expressing their frustration at the proposed change. So this example shows that social media allows users to upload their opinions on issues like the issues in our country, or even to things like the proposed changes of our education system. So this example shows that it allows access to a plethora of opinions online. So digital media allows that. Next, it enables access to news updates. So now you can now access different news anytime and anywhere. As long as you have a device, you can stay connected and be enlightened on the current happenings in the country or even globally. So, an example of this from a post of Scholar ng Bayan. Basically, they are breaking news about 𝐓𝐸D approving the 100% shift to online classes for colleges. So, with this news update, people on the platform now know about this change. So this example shows, or demonstrates rather, that we can now access breaking news anytime and anywhere. Unlike the early days where you have to read a newspaper or listen to the radio to learn about news, you can now go to social media and you can be enlightened on the different issues, different news about our country. So it enables access to that. And lastly, it enables the interaction with the community. So through comment sections, shared posts, users can delve into their topics that they are interested in. So this interactivity allows users to comment and reply to each other. So, of course, one of the most recognizable examples of this capability of social media is, of course, the 𝐷 MIL page. So whenever a new video is posted, students can choose to comment on it and share their meaningful insights. With this, users can interact with other students and also provide their take on their opinions. So there's a loop, there's interactivity within the community. So supporting this idea, according to our MIL survey, the high school students of Cagayan de Oro City agree that digital media contributes to public discussion. So this statistic shows that many people know the value of digital media in fostering communication within the community. As we have said before, that social media allows users to create their own media messages. They can create their own media messages, but that capability can make a new problem. Digital platforms allow information to spread instantly, but not all content is accurate. So before I dive deeper into this topic, I'm going to show you guys pictures, and tell me what you think about it first. And last. So, from those pictures, what can you say about them? So I think most of you got it. Those are AI generated pictures. So I think most of us were able to identify that those were AI, right? Because we are aware of the capabilities of generative AI. But if you were to show these same pictures to your parents or an elderly person, do you think they would be able to identify that these were AI? So yeah, the answer might be concerning for some. According to our MIL survey, the high school students of Cagayan de Oro City strongly agree that they are aware that misleading content exists online. But being aware is not enough. That is why we need to be information literate. So basically, what is that? So in a nutshell, information literacy is basically the ability to effectively find, evaluate information, and decide whether information is actually credible or not. So information literacy is important because on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, where users can see content, misinformation can also spread like a disease. So before you immediately believe in something, always make sure that the creator of that post is actually credible. If it's just a random person on the internet, and if you look up their profile and you realize that there seems to be no lead to an actual identity, then don't immediately share it. And you should always fact check information. And while you're at it, while you're fact checking information, don't stick to a single narrative. Always compare data from different sources to allow yourselves a more holistic perspective on the issues that you may encounter. So, especially nowadays where the capabilities of AI are now advancing more and more, now they can also create horrifying pictures or footage of war. So the previous pictures were mostly used only for laughs, but when AI is used to generate or edit pictures such as these, they can really cause a panic among those who are not very digitally literate. So that can be a concern because, of course, that may cause a panic. But for now, we now have tools at our disposal that we can use to help combat AI content or misleading content in general. One of which is the reverse image search. If you go to any browser that you like and search up Google Images, here in this video I'm using the Brave browser, you can actually input any picture that you want. As an example, I use an AI generated picture of Keanu Reeves, and it can actually output a description. It says here, this image shows a celebrity, Keanu Reeves, in a scene created using artificial intelligence as a street food vendor in Malaysia. So you can use this powerful tool to identify if a picture is actually fake or not. And if you go to the images section, you can also see where that picture originally came from. So this powerful tool can help you identify content that is misleading and help you identify if you can actually trust in it. So this example shows that you can't trust in it. That picture is fake. This AI generated. Now, to sum it all up, there is one rule in media literacy that, if followed, may potentially remove most of misinformation on the web. If you are not sure, then don't share. So this is a very simple rule, but a simple thing can go a long way. If you are not sure about something, fact check first, and if you don't have the time to fact check, then of course don't share it, because that post may lead to misleading someone, and we should always be careful because we don't want that. So again, if you're not sure of something, then don't share. It's very simple, but it can go a long way. Now, Now that we discussed the forms of media, what happens when all of these forms of media begin to merge? So, that will be a topic handled by Mr. Christian J. Balabat, and I'll pass the floor back to him. So that's all for me. Thank you, everyone.
Good day, everyone. My name is Christian J. M. Balabat, and today I'll be discussing about when media collide. But first of all, before we tackle to our main topic, let's observe and tell me what can you see in these images. First, correct, it's a camera. Camera are used to take pictures and videos or even filming. Next, yes, it's a radio. Back then, radio are used for listening to news and listening to live stories like Papa Dudut. Are you familiar with Papa Dudut? Next, a cassette or a music player. Music player are used to listen to music and recorded audios. And lastly, we already know what is this. This is a newspaper. Newspaper are used for reading news articles in entertainment like basketball. And these are the types of traditional media. But what if these types of traditional media begins to collide? Fast forward, when these types of traditional media collide, we integrated it into one gadget or platform. An example of this is a smartphone. A smartphone has a features of a camera that we can take pictures and images, radio that we can listen to news and live stories, and music player like Spotify to listen music and podcasts. And lastly, we can read news articles and in many different platforms. When these features, when these types of features combines and these types of traditional media collide, this is where media convergence happen. What is media convergence? Media convergence refers to the merging of different media platforms and technologies into one system or device. So basically, it's the merging of different traditional media and integrated into one device or platform. So there are three forms of media convergence: the industrial convergence, social convergence, and technological convergence. So what is industrial convergence? Industrial convergence is the merging of different industries or technologies to create new products and services. So so basically it's the merging of different industries and technologies to create new products and services. So to understand this convergence, here is an example. People back then are used to buy physical copies like tapes and use DVD players just to watch their favorite videos and favorite movies. And it takes time and more costly just to experience these types of services. But fast forward now, we can experience this in a simple click, such as watching movies on Netflix, watching videos on YouTube, playing music in Spotify, and even learning in Quizlet. So let's move on to technological convergence. Technological convergence is the integration of previously unrelated technologies. So this is the types of traditional media that collide. It's either technology based or untechnology based. To understand this, here is an example. A wristwatch. Wristwatch are used to check time, but now we integrated features like checking heartbeats, counting our steps, and even checking our location. When these features combine, fast forward now, we have what we call the smartphone. A smartwatch, I mean. The smartwatch has a feature of checking our heartbeat, counting steps, and checking our location, not just checking time. This product is continuously to evolve, and when it continuously evolve, it will come to be a tool that used for communication. When this tool is used for communication, that's where the social convergence happens. So what is social convergence? When people connect and interact with each other through digital platforms, creating a shared online community. So according to our survey, public schools and university has the same mean of 3.98, which is agree that they can identify examples of media convergence between traditional and digital media. And the private school has a mean of 4.10, which is agree that they can identify examples of media convergence between traditional and digital media. Overall, the all school in Cagayan de Oro agreed with a mean of 4.02 that they can identify examples of media convergence between traditional and digital media. That's all. Thank you.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation on media and information literacy. Today, we will be diving into the landscape of modern communication and how it shapes our world. My name is 𝐓𝐸𝐤 Pahapay, and I will be guiding you through this topic. Our main objectives for today is we will analyze and understand the effects of digital communication and look into new media environments and their purpose, and also evaluate how these new technologies contribute to our daily lives and society as a whole. So, in the past, consuming information relied heavily on physical documentations, traditional broadcasting like AM/FM radio, and print media. And this traditional media is more like a turtle because the approach to media was often delayed. It was primarily a passive experience for the audience, and producing and distributing this information was generally expensive. Now, as humans create something that is easily accessible and also reliable while also being fast. That's why we create something called the World Wide Web. To put it simply, it's a literal web. And if you see the inside of that web, it's full of hyperlinks and metadata. Used a bridge to deliver information. Unlike then, people were relying on physical labors to deliver and receive information. But now, you can read, watch, and see everything in your personal phone. Fast forward when the new media evolved and the convergence happened. With the convergence and the diversity of the people, like how the way we use these new services, we get something called divergence. Let's take an example for here. This content is from traditional media, but because of the convergence, people can interpret the same content, like making the content short and direct, or even make it as a public forum for the people to interact. And also, something like podcasts for the experts to interact with the audiences. But it didn't stop there. Some diverse type of content can create more diverse contents stem from that specific content. And because of the endless convergence, it can create what we call niche. Even if we're politically speaking, niche can sometimes create echo chambers or radicalization. So, in the era of technology, how does one create radicalizations or echo chambers? Because people created something what we call algorithms. Now, algorithms is like shooting a ball into a basin. First bounce would be data collection, meaning while you're reading public forums or watching specific contents, the technology will take note of that. Now, it's recommendation. Because of the data collected, the system will recommend you some contents with the same idea or message. Now, because of this, it can create echo chambers because of the exposure of these same contents. Your view and beliefs will possibly be based from what you've seen. Until the polarization ramps up, it'll end in radicalization. And based from the sources, new media can change a person in their views and beliefs. And sometimes it makes us confident in our opinions. And the internet doesn't stop us to express because it's just a machine. Because it doesn't understand humans, it is just doing its job. Which supports the claim after we gathered answers from 150 plus participants from other public, private, and unified schools. According to this, almost of them totally agreed with the statement, but on the other hand, it gives them permission to express on what they believe. Now for the bad side. According to Shahir bin Rizwan from Tampere University, there are notable negative psychological effects associated with this digital landscape, like shortening our attention span because of this short form, easily accessible contents, and can sometimes weakening our critical thinking because we don't need to check sources because we thought it doesn't need to because like it's easily accessible now. And this over reliance can lead to addictive behaviors and negative impacts on mental health. So, how do we navigate this complex digital world? We must prioritize safe browsing habits. And also, big things comes from small things. We would like to think about or what we think about our actions and about our words because it can sometimes lead to bigger problems. And we need to actively say no to toxicity online to foster healthier digital communities. And now, I want to leave you all with one final crucial reminder as you interact with media today. Think critically and click wisely. Thank you for your time.
Hello, good day everyone. My name is Klinnie 𝐓𝐴NGEL Borres, and today I will be talking about interactive multimedia tools in education, where learning goes beyond the textbook. Now, to understand where we are going, we should look first to where we've started. Before we've used traditional learning tools in education. So, can you guess what this tools is? So, if you answered chalkboard, books, or modules, then you are right because that is the primary tools used in education before. But because of the rise of technologies, we are now switching to digital learning, where we now use these uh, PPTs or ebooks, for example. But those are just the surface level. The tools are only uh, tools that can be used. It doesn't guarantee students' engagement. And this is where multimedia comes in. So what is multimedia? So multimedia is a combination of text, audios, videos, graphic, and animation. So for example, is this PPT, no? There is text, there is graphics, there is audios, and there are some videos used. And what is interactive multimedia? So from the word itself, interactive, it means there is need for a user's interaction to the media. So let's now go to interactive learning. So what can interactive learning do? So it can help students explore. Using multimedia, students can explore more on the web. So you can just search, for example, this. There is a pet. So pet actually helps in subjects like science and math. And also you can watch YouTube for different documentaries if you want to know more about like wildlife. And also like this GRIS, this helps for one to know if there are risks around its community. And also you can now explore in sites like NASA and etc. And next is participate. So one example of this is the LARD, where students can actively participate. Uh, in this, we can uh, actively like speak with using multimedia. Next is to create. So using multimedia, students can also create, for example, videos. You can edit videos in apps like CapCut. And also, by creating, you can also create the videos itself where you are in the video. Like the one we did, the podcast, that is also an example of interactive learning. And also, collaboration. So, using, again, interactive learning, we can use when we have distance learning, no? If there are problems like typhoon, earthquakes, or like the napa-expensive sa fuel. So, na distant learning. Like, you can use Google Classroom for online class, or you can also use another app. Like, for example, is Miro. This is what we used in our IITC before to do a group project. And the question is, does interactive learning actually makes learning more engaging? So this is based on our MIL survey. We have 250 student respondents, and 250 senior high school respondents in Cagayan de Oro. So in public, there is a 4.14 mean score, which agreed. Also in private, 4.8, and in the university, 4.18, with a total mean score of 4.15 that agreed that interactive multimedia makes learning more engaging. So there is really a result in using interactive multimedia. So how can this interactive how can this for example, no, this is a multimedia tools help? So based on Digital Learning Institute 2016, that it can help students to have more access in learning, because we know that we can just open various sites, or like for example kanina, no, we can explore on different things freely and more things. And also, it creates self-paced learning, especially to those slow learners, no? They can just rewatch in YouTube, or you can search anything sa internet. And also, it activates critical learning, because when using this different kind of tool, it makes you think more on how to use this properly. And this is also supported by a study by Stanivicini and Zikniji 2025, that using um, uh, by interactive learning, students have more motivation and engagement than before. So here in the Cagayan de Oro, where we did the survey, in public, there are 3.86 that agreed, in private 4.16, and in university 4.20 strongly agreed, and the mean score is 4.5 agreed that videos, animations, and presentation help me understand lesson better. So there is evident results, sa that interactive tools really helps. By saying of John Dewey, the father of experimental education, he is a psychologist and psychiatrist. He said that education is not an affair of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process. So it means that students can uh, learn more if they are actively doing everything, because that is what learning should be. It's not only being told only. So let's now go to Open Educational Resources, or OER. So what is OER? So OER is an site that uh, that you can easily access, no, for education. So there are this 5 hours activity. So the 5 hours activity is actually like a rule in every OER, that you can retain it, revise, reuse, remix, and redistribute. So that means you can freely access these different types of a site to use. You can also revise, reuse based on the 5 hour activities. This is like the rule of OER, because at the end of the day, knowledge should be shareable. And here in the Philippines, OER are freely accessible. You can look at this site. You can search for the DepEd, the CHED, the TESDA, or the OPU. So these are the example, no, of different sites here in the Philippines. So you might ask me, no, how we talk about interactive learning. So how can the OER helps sa engagement, sa interactive learning? How is it connected? So it actually uh, from uh, from this OAR, it is transformed to a game we call gamification. So what is gamification? So gamification is actually it contains the context inside the OAR, like the lessons and everything, but it is transferred to a game. That is the gamification. So what are the core mechanics in gamification? So that in shortcut, that is PBL. So PBL stands for points, badges, excuse me, and leaderboards. So for example, is this gamification resources? There is Kahoot, quizzes, Classcraft, Duolingo, and Bambazzle. So now, for example, sa Duolingo, where it has the PBL, it has points, leagues, and badges. So the streaks and the hearts are just like add-ons, but it has the core mechanics in it. That's just one example. So here in the Philippines, or also here in Cagayan, you can use this very helpful gamification site, which is Gizmo. So you can see, no, here at the bottom, there's University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. So it actually contains various school. No, example, you school from USTP. So there is really a separate desk sa students sa USTP. So you should check this out. And that is all for my report. We actually I should try the gamification, but since this is a video only, so you should try it to do use the gamification, no, different katong like Gizmo, because it can help you learn something, no, and it's also fun because of course it's a game. It's part of like not just a game good. And last, did you know that games do more than entertain? And if you ask me, more than entertain, isn't game only for entertainment? So you'll learn more about that with our next reporter. So
So thank you for that wonderful presentation, Klinnie. So thank you for introducing me. So hello, my name is Rychee and I'm here to present my presentation titled Leveling Up Learning, Games in Classroom as a Platform for MIL Development. So when we hear games, the word games, we often associate it with something entertaining, fun, also distraction, and a waste of time. But in this presentation, no, we will break that assumption. So that's why na I need you to hear this situation, a very familiar situation that we grade 11 can relate. So meet Gooding. So Gooding is a grade 11 student at USTP CDO Senior High School. It's already 10 p.m. and he's in his room, chilling and waiting for something fun or activities. But then he has a notification. Ting, char. And then he immediately checks it, man. But he was so shocked na their group without will have a mock presentation for MIL. But then again, he was so shocked because he thought na it will happen next week and next week and so on and so forth. But but then it's already 4 months, 3 months. So yeah. So he didn't expect it. So that's why naturally he goes to his laptop and opens his PowerPoint so he can practice and prepare for the presentation tomorrow. But then 10 minutes pa lang, he was so bored. So that's why to make his mind fresh bitaw, and after that fresh bitaw, fresh iyang brain or his mind, he can immediately go back to prepare. So that's why na he played, especially of course ML. So as you can see, no, na he is going to attack, doing those skills. So yeah. But then he won, not just once, but twice, not just twice, thrice, and so on and so forth. So that's why he eventually entered win streak. So yeah, because every time he won, he has that sense of achievement. He has sense of like knowledge na he had learned something. But again, he doesn't realize that it's already 3 a.m. in the morning. So, so this situation reminds us na in reality na this is us bitaw na we didn't know na hala ngani din oras so ingani din oras ron naka na bitaw you waste your time just for a game instead na those precious hours na to prepare something important. So that's why na it doesn't mean na it doesn't mean that you've learned in games. It doesn't reflect or is that it doesn't pass it out to your academic performance. So this raises the question na did he learn nothing or are we failing to recognize what he learned? So 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 this question guides us to the central question whether na games make you smarter. But the answer is it's not absolute. Because it depends on the type of game and how the game is used. So in this phrase, it will be elaborated by the next slides pa lang. So do you know na games influence your brain? So basically na whether this learning is guided, recognized, or ignored by the education system. So that's why na we should not we should not avoid palang na games is part of the modern media ecosystem. So basically na it as a youth palang or as a teenager na digital games is part na jud sa atong life. It's part of our everyday lives. Whether we're doing something, or if we ever have like time na after a busy week. So basically na it's been part na jud sa atong life. So but then what games makes it kana bitong more special is first is it combines with technology. Next is combines with stories, interactions, and decision making. So what? So by these four palang no. So it creates a game. So basically, game is a part of a new media na as I saw reported earlier ni Christian Malabat and Rychee Pahapay. So according to the G2A News in 2025, that there are over more than 3 billion players worldwide in 2025 record. So from the USA down to Brazil, up to China and to our country, Philippines. So in the Philippines, there are active gamers with a range of 43 million to 67 million in 2025 data. So it means na games isn't a niche hobby anymore. And to additionally by this report na 98% of Filipino gamers use mobile devices to play popular free-to-play titles. So by this palang na data, it really shows na Filipinos love mobile games. Why? First is you can play mobile games by a budgeted phone. And also by your budgeted phone, no? Now you can play like Mobile Legends and more. And it doesn't require kanang bitong heavy, very heavy kanang megabytes, gigabytes to just to play a game, right? And lastly, it's accessible since you don't really need, I mean, you don't kanang bitong dili ka mo siya need or like you need just load lang. Yes, that's the term. Kanang need lang jud kag load pa lang, you can play games. So by these three components pa lang, no, that's why Filipino gamers are like fond to mobile games. So we should know we should know the popular free-to-play titles. So Julian, what's popular free-to-play titles? So that's why na we should identify who are those top three free-to-play titles. So guess the first one. What's the top three? What's the third place? What's the third place? So the third place is Roblox. So Roblox ranked third place. So basically in this game, no, who is familiar with Roblox? So yeah. So it's where bully sa mga children. Charge of lang. So as you can see no, the Roblox plays in the third. And what do you think who do you think or what game do you think na conquers the second place? Of course, it's COD-M. And the most obvious one, what is the first place or what is the top game along the free to play? Special. So of course, it's ML. This according to Inquiro in their data in 2025. So So we should note na high popularity does not automatically mean na educational value. So that's why the games function as an interactive environments where players continuously. So before na I'll tell you this, you should know na acronyms is a way na kana bitaw we can memorize something. So So to make it easier to memorize or to understand is I'd use an acronym na we all know or we love it. So this acronym is called EUT or EUT. So Julian, what's that? What's EUT means? So basically E means for evaluate feedback. Next is to use decision and lastly to transform decision. So by this acronym pa lang, no? So gamers use or gonna practice this. So because of that, no, there's a cycle na mo happen. So first is you play a game. After you play a game, it's very normal or it's normal to make mistakes. So that's why after you make your mistakes, you will eventually get your feedback. And then after you get your feedback, you will adjust your strategy. And after you adjust your strategy, you try and try and try until you succeed or you learn. But it doesn't mean na you did this cycle lang is you will eventually have a good academic performance. No, you can transfer it to your academic performance if you reflect on what did you do in this cycle, no? So eventually, for example, you just played your games. For example, Roblox, you make mistakes. You get your feedback and so on and so forth. Just a cycle, merely a cycle. But if we put our reflection onto it, na if we make mistakes, we need to evaluate pa lang no na, hala, mali na akong mistake. So after that, you get your feedback and and you have your adjustments and you try again. So because of that na you reflect bitaw, you can apply it to your academic self or even your kind of personal lang. For example, this one is very relatable for anyone anyone of here of us na who've tried ML mock presentation, especially the grade 11. So basically, you play the games. You play na you make create your PowerPoint, you practice it. But then in MIL mock presentation, you eventually, let's say na, Sir Peter gives you a second chance. Yes, that's why you have made your mistake. But Sir Peter has this constructive bitaw na kanang feedback where na bitaw maka-learn jud ka sa unsa jud ang iyong gipaingon. So that's why na you get your feedback. So after that feedback, no, that's why you need to adjust your strategy. Now, how can I do this again without na making those same mistakes again? So that's why you adjust your strategy on on how do you present it, on how do you make your presentation more visually appealing. That's why you tried again. Yes, you tried again. You tried, and eventually, after you played again, you eventually have Sir Peter's standard or like the passing rate. So you can eventually move to in-class presentation. So congrats. So basically, no, as I said na, if you can reflect on what you did to your on what you did sa games, if you can reflect lang ha, if you can reflect, it will eventually pass jud sa imong how on how you encounter those obstacles in academic and not just in academic but also in personal lives. So yeah. So that's why now we need to use this MIL or sorry, this Mobile Legends. So first is E. So what is E, gali? It is to evaluate feedback. So during this situation, no? So how do we evaluate the feedback? So as you can see, no na very nabitaw like nagtigmaan na talaga. So that's why na it's either na you will push or you retreat. So that's why na if you make those decision, you will use what it feedback and that's why you will use your decision. Na either I will retreat or I will push or I will use the skills and so on and so forth. So that's why after you use your decision, if ever na it fails, that's why na you need to transform your strategies na how can I win again without making those same mistakes? So that's why the EU is very important, especially in games and especially to our academic lives, and not just again, not just in academic lives, but also in personal. So yeah, so that's why na there are skills developed through games according to the UNESCO book and our book, which is Think Critically and Click Wisely. So first is the social skills. So as you can see, no, na when you have social skills in a game, you will create teamwork, cooperation, and communication. So basically, no, na these three palang no is like the structure or the pillar on how you socialize it. And mostly na these social skills usually emerge when it's a multiplayer game. Whereas you communicate, you can communicate if whether you will do this, you will do that, and of course you need to cooperate because when you communicate without cooperation, then there will be no teamwork happening. So that's why these three are very interconnected with each other. Next is the intellectual skills. So in intellectual skills is you will create these three pillars. So the first pillar is the problem solving. Last and the second is to investigate. And the last is to ideate. So basically when you play games when you encounter problems, especially in times na very what can I say this? Very say na quick bitaw. So that's why na you need to hone your problem solving. So before you problem solve, you must know how to investigate and ideate on what do you do to solve it. And lastly is the spatial temporal skills. So when we say spatial temporal skills is you need know on how to navigate, organize, and have quick decisions. So basically in a game where it is fast paced, that's why you need to navigate on how would you do it. You would organize on how you do it and have like a quick decision on what would you do. So basically, it sums up on the three skills that you can develop in games. But it doesn't mean, but it doesn't mean na you you got these skills. It will immediately transfer to your academic or your how can you say this or your to yourself because again na we should know how to reflect it because this is one of the crucial part in this presentation. Na it doesn't mean na, na those games learned you na bitang na nakanatulad ko doesn't mean na it would reflect jud sa imong self or sa imong performance. So on being literate, no? As I said earlier, so let's go back na lang sa atong first pa lang na kanila cycle. So, as I said earlier, no, na it is normal to have this cycle. So, you can really apply it to MIL or um having like a media information literacy. So basically, play is to have a content, and then and if you make mistakes, no, but that's why you need to get your feedback on what information now would you get? No, that's why you get your feedback. So that's why now then you would adjust your strategy. So and you try and try and try until you will be a media information literate citizen. So so that's why now we should know the difference between ICT skills and MIS skills. So in ICT skills, students learn to first access infos and access to process data and to communicate digitally. But when we say ML skills is that we know on how do we analyze and evaluate information. So basically it's very different, but it's connected. So that's why the ICT skills alone are insufficient. So did you know, according to the Philippine Institute of Development Studies in their 2021 report, na 4 out of 10 Filipinos possess at least one basic ICT skill. So what it means with ICT skill, according to the UNICEF ICT skills in 2019, na first is like to know on how to create folder, how to send emails, how to use Excel, PowerPoint, how to create documents, codes, and so on and so forth. So imagine na only 4 out of 10 Filipinos knows at least one basic ICT skill. So a student or a person or a gamer knows on how to do these skills by having strategy like how to win these games, but they may be prone on kanabitang fake news, misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. And so that's why na ICT access determines whether digital or game-based learning is even possible. So that's why, no, as you can see in the Philippines' current situation, ICT access is very, very hard. But then, according to our president, Ferdinand Marcos, in his SONA speech in 2025, that there are 12,000 public schools now. He wanted to have internet connection by the end of 2025. So that's why na funded by the Department of Budget and Management and implemented by the Department of Information Communication Technology, the free Wi-Fi for all is created. But before I go to data, no, so I would ask you, no, as I assume you know, especially now you're here in USTP CDO, senior high school. So I assume now most of us here are from public schools, and I know now na ICT or the ICT Wi-Fi is implemented. So I ask you now, is your the ICT Wi-Fi in your previous school strong enough? Hmm? Because I will share my experience, no? So in my experience in Bag, no, na we have this Wi-Fi, the ICT Wi-Fi, and it's very near to our classroom. But due to na daghan kaayo, or there are many students who have also have their phones and needs to connect their phone, it became slow. So that's why it's supported by these data from my MIL survey na by this question na the DICT free Wi-Fi at my school is strong enough for me to search for information and use online learning tools effectively. So in the rural public schools, their answer or na ilang answer is neutral, unlike to our urban public schools, and they agree. So basically, no, it creates a gap bitaw na those who are in rural schools now who really needs those internet kind of bit slow in like internet unlike urban na. So yeah. So it really creates a gap. So yeah, as I said earlier na overcrowded ang classrooms. And also no na since it's overcrowded classroom and some students or some elementary students, no, let's go to the bottom, Jude. No, some elementary students have their own phones pa lang. So that's why na tumudagdag jud siya. And also no na we should not we should not ito na we should not di na 'to kalimtan. Di na 'to kalimtan ang mga teachers or those na who really needs the Wi-Fi for their paperwork, especially na that teachers are now um, let's say na heavy on their paperworks. So it that's why na access doesn't mean a meaningful digital learning. So to support this, palang no nahina yung internet. So according to the 𝐓𝐶LA Global Index na in mobile, the Philippines ranked 76 with the average Mbps of 56.31, while the UAE has 681 Mbps. So imagine no na unsa kadako ang gap between these two countries. So additionally, with the Philippines in the 62nd in the fixed broadband, while the Singapore ranks first with the average Mbps of 420. So basically, it's like four times. So it clearly reflects. So because of this data, no, na I've remembered on Gabriel Dallas presentation na Singapore government na Singapore government kanang provides money for Wi-Fi. So basically no na kanang they provided families to have Wi-Fi, a sustainable Wi-Fi, a strong Wi-Fi na they can use especially with their children's na kanang bitaw nasa school. So if we compare it no sa Philippines na the Philippine government is like yeah. So it is Singapore uses their subsidies bitaw to have that kind of Wi-Fi or kind of performance na it's very strong. So, but according to our president na ang sukatan ng progreso ay hindi lang sa internet speed. Again, the measurement of progress doesn't define by the internet speed. So partially he is correct naman no na dili majud tanan nga na it is sa internet speed jud. So that's why na it's very contradicting earlier na kanang bitaw to have a good kanang access bitaw is you need to have Wi-Fi very good or internet speed. But then if a students have low internet, especially as I said earlier no to the data na rural public schools have kanang bitaw low internet or let's say na slow. So that's why na if a student has slow internet, no, they will have hard time on finding or searching information online. But we should take note na, yes, oo, naman yung libraries, there are libraries. But for those students na who are in rural bitaw na, we have kana bitang lack of information or lack of facilities. So that's why na they only rely internet for their information. So that's why no na it's very contradicting na our president wants to have Wi-Fi but he doesn't kana bitaw he doesn't reflect na kana bitaw dili bitaw siya connected sa progress. Internet speed is really a progress. So that's why na technology access is therefore not an educational issue but a governance issue. So that's why I introduce you to the digital game-based learning. So basically, DGBL to think clear terms. So basically, DGBL is something na core, core topic to my presentation. But Julian, anong asking introduction about it, like about the current situation? Because if we gonna be talking, if dili na to siya, if we don't know the context pa lang, kanang bitaw either it will be implemented pero kanang short term lang bitaw. So especially same as what happened to DICT na due to lack of funding no na shutdown daw lagi ang ilang mga services sa online. So we don't want to do that. So that's why na we should know the DGBL. So what does DGBL means? So DGBL are games intentionally for education purposes. So unlike sa reporting ni Kini kanina, no, na gamification. So when we say gamification, no, it only integrates the elements from games, tas ibutang din sa kanang something na to make those students or to make those people entertained because of those badges, leaderships, and so on and so forth. So that's why na according to this paper na I've read about RPG games na which hones your information literacy. As you can see, no, na you can know on how to use Google Scholar, search platform for university library. So basically, no, so you have this warm up. So after warm up, you have this learning. So after the learning, you need to exercise on that kind of one skills, especially in this topic one, no, on how to use Google and Google Scholar. So after that, no, you after you have done those exercises, is eventually you'll get your reward. And additionally, no, so I will tackle na lang do this part. So in this game pa lang, no, so you have known on how to use databases, on how to evaluate quality search information, and lastly, on how to read academic articles efficiently, sorry. And then in the Philippines TGBL and during pandemic era na emerged na this TGBL Minecraft Education Edition and ano ba itong partnered with DepEd, whereas nakanabitang you'd know sciences. For example, I've played these games before when I was in grade 7. So basically, no, you can have chemistry, physics, biology, all in one game. But it lacks games especially to media information literacy. Because that's the point of this presentation. Games as a platform for MIL development. Because Philippines or globally, it lacks DGBL lacks should about media information literacy games. That's why I propose a game. So I would call this na InfoQuest. So InfoQuest is something that you can see in Roblox. So you should take note no na this is just a kind of proposal or concept. But then, la Julian, why Roblox? You can have something. So first is that we should know we should um we should know na katabi tong datas earlier. So as you can see, no, the top three is in order na Roblox, COD-M, and MLBB. But then only Roblox is something na kanabitang you can create games. So Julian, why Roblox man jud? So first is it can be easily accessed to kids. The next is that it can be easily accessed to kids. It is also multiplayer. Not just only multiplayer lang. It can bitong you have the own creativity to make those type of games. So that's why na I'll call this InfoQuest. So here, wow, sorry, it's so laggy. So InfoQuest navigate the world of information. So this is a game, a concept na I've designed just for this MIL literacy course because I want to contribute something not just for this course but to the DGBL community in the Philippines. That's why no, we need to play it. Play. Oh. So you will be spawned as a character. Now you are so shocked in a city where you've seen flying posts. For example, according to this commenter, no, feed plaza pages are apparently government drones. According to this napod na, I hereby declare that do not give my permission for Roblox to use my any personal data. Next is bro, our president resigned. And lastly is breaking news. The city water supplies is contaminated. Do not drink tap water. Source, trust me, bro. So basically in this game is you will choose on what type of post na you will try to understand or you'll try to evaluate, since that is the point of the game. It's media information literacy. And that's why I want to pick this one because it's so interesting and it's also relatable on what happened last year. So yeah. So breaking news, the city's water supply is contaminated. Do not drink tap water. So that's why na we need to analyze or we need since we have the access palang no, so those kind of posts, that's why we need to analyze it. So by this palang no, we should know on as I said earlier na or step activity or the PIT na we've done na we did about media or MIL reporting. So as you can see by the surface one lang surface no as you can see na the emotion, the source. So it really thinks na hala, it's suspicious. So that's why we need to act, we need to analyze yun. So that's why na we need to observe pud sa unsay mga kakahitabo sa mga sa mga players. As you can see, wait, what? Is this real? I just drank water earlier. Can someone confirm it, please? But then this player na po na, I saw this repost already. It must be true. Sharing this to everyone I know. Di ba, no? Na disinformation is gonna bitong fast bitamo spread because people gonna bitong lack of on how to fact check things. So that's why na this is the main role or this is the point of this course na we need to know on how do we fact check things, on how do we analyze, evaluate things or media. So that's why no you gathered information. So as you can see no na according to this post pa lang no na City Water Utility Authority na they have posted an important announcement na their water is safe. If again no, this is true because as I said the authority since it is official. And then let's see to the news po no na viral post claims na water contamination authorities confirm no evidence of crisis. So yeah, so next is we need to check digital water monitoring system. As you can see, no, the system status is stable. And then if we scan the post, no, to Snopes, especially to Snopes, na the source the I na Trust Me Bro TV is unverified or non-existent to database, so the risk level of it is high. But then again, this is a concept pa lang. So basically, no, to get this information is you need to travel for things or you need to ask people, you need to go to internet and do this gonna be to this cycle jud no on how do we evaluate access analyze evaluate media. So that's why this post, no? So I will just skip na lang, or I will just fast forward na lang, no? So this post is fake news. But then you have the chance if whether you would post or comment it, such as same as Larna, you would comment like you've given your opinions, your citations, your information, and so on and so forth. Or you can just ignore it. So that's the game. But then actually I'm open Jude to make kind of bit of concept or to make this game come true because I really think na I want this game bitaw na to be exposed to the young childrens pa lang because especially youth na jud ang mag-take over on how do we kanang bitong how do we vote to our leaders for the future. So that's why no by this simple game no we can spread na this is how to be a media information literate na citizen. Yeah, correct. So This is the game that I really wanted, no, to be implemented or to be published. So actually, I'm open for collaborations to make this game possible. So yeah. So according to this, with our survey, na digital games can be effective learning tools when used properly. So as you can see, no, by these three, nakuha pa lang, public, private, and university administered, na, they both agree. So students pa lang, the high school students pa lang is gonna be to open jud for digital games. And digital games can be used for educational purposes, not just entertainment. As you can see, no, they also agree. So can students from Cagayan de Oro, high school students from Cagayan de Oro are open for digital games, especially the junior risk. If there are benefits, there will be risk. So first is the risk if we are like over reliant to these games or DGBL is when we go back to traditional learning is gonna become we will often lose focus. Especially no because when we are too focused bitaw sa atong games is that we will gonna bitaw have magsakit atong mata. To support this, no, according to our respondent, 44 to our MLS survey na games are distracting, especially it is very distracting, especially games. It could easily make you lose focus and spend more time scrolling instead of studying. That's why now we need to have literacy. So when we say media literacy is we should think talang na may inside games lang. So you should know on who made it and why, what values and biases, and what data, ads, and persuasion na ato makita by the game. So that's why no na we should know or we should kinang recommend pa lang, no? Such as the same na good sa recommendation to our research na to those teachers, no, they should know or we should be aware na to be kana bitang pedagogy bitaw basta maybe sa presentation basta kana bitang a way to learn na we should try to implement PGBL in learning. And then for students is that we need to have those kana bitang what can you say this kana bitang open jud ta bitaw for that kind of activities na we are gonna become eager bitaw ta mo learn through the GBL. And lastly, to government na we should fund pa lang no, especially to ICT access pa lang na by that should na ICT access is just the kana bitawng minimum to make to have bitaw to be a media information literate na citizen. That's why to for games to truly level up learning is first we need to have access. Access, we need to have especially games. Access games and especially na kanang supportive bitaw na stakeholders. So that's why na games are already shaping how students think and learn. But without MIL, this learning remains unstructured, unequal, and unrecognized by formal education. So that's why no na to think bitaw na to think na again, let's go back to the first question na can games make you smarter? It depends on what game you play, how you play it, and whether you reflect or you use your critical thinking when playing the game. So thank you players. So sorry kay nadugayan jud ko. So thank you players and I'll be the last presentator. So good morning, night, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you so much.